Hey guys, it's Gus, and apologies in advance for this long video. I think it's an important topic, so I want to make sure we discuss it in detail. Some people probably don't think it's important, but I think this has the potential to change the game. And what are we getting at? Well, before we get into it, let's rewind to the beginning of 2021 when we had the last combat rework. And one of the effects of the last combat rework was there was not a lot of ratings and stats in the game. So most players used augment companions because augment companions give like 25,000 or so ratings to you. And those 25,000 ratings, don't quote me on the exact number, will contribute to your damage more than a striking companion would. So if a player wanted to do the most damage possible, they were running augments. And then over time, stuff happened. They've been adding more and more stats and ratings to the game, which is a good thing. For example, they gave us the Myconid. Myconid's amazing. Let me show you why it's amazing if you didn't know. The Myconid, when one player equips this, everybody in the group gets 2,250 power and 2,250 ratings to accuracy. Think about that. 2,250 power is equivalent to a mythic enchantment, and the 2,250 accuracy is equivalent to a mythic citrine enchantment. So when one player uses this, they're giving everybody on the team two mythic enchantments worth of stats. We also have the Runeclad Mana Core, which has been around for quite some time. A lot of players that are coming up in Neverwinter probably haven't seen anybody run these. But when you get to end game, the harder content, generally every team has these. You can expect them. All three of these are going to be in there. This gives 2,250 power, 2,250 defense. Again, two more mythic enchantments worth of stats. We also had the Ebon Riding Lizard, right? That's a new one. And this sucker gives us 2,250 combat advantage, 2,250 awareness. Another two more mythic enchantment worth of stats. That's six more enchantments we're getting if teammates use these, you know. And then when we go to mounts, uh, look at this. They gave us these two new bonuses. Covenant gives us 6,000 more ratings, and for a DPS player, Mender's Covenant gives us another 4,500 ratings. We still have the Assassin's Covenant, which gives us 4,000 offensive ratings. So if you're wearing these three bonuses, you're getting 14,500 more ratings. And something you see very commonly in the threads now is that we have too many ratings in the stats. That's a good thing. We have more stats or ratings that we know what to do with. I'm going to say that's not true. We do have something to do with them, but we have to remake our entire build if we want to do it. I'm talking about the Forte build. Let's Forte stat. If you don't know what Forte is, that's fine. A lot of players don't. Forte is the only rating in the game that contributes to your stats. If you don't know how stats work, this left-hand column, right, is your rating column. The number on your left meets its maximum threshold, which is commonly referred to as the cap, once it is equal to your item level. So once I get 87,604 power, my power will be at 50%. No extra ratings I put in there will not make it go any higher. The only way for it to go higher to its maximum potential is to put more stats into your, or put more into your rate. Sorry, put more into your stat category, your right hand column, which you can raise it from 50% to 90%. So 90% is the actual maximum cap. 50% is the cap that you can get from ratings. Forte is the only rating that contributes to your right hand column. And how Forte works is it's different for every class and it's different for every paragon. As a DPS, for every DPS, half of your Forte will go into power. 25% of your Forte will go to your class specific offensive stat, and 25% will go into your class specific defensive stat. For example, as a Hunter Ranger, one if I have 1% Forte, 0.5% will go to my power, 0.25% will go to my accuracy, and 0.25% will go to deflect. Remember, it goes to your right hand column, your total column. We call those that's the stat column. And the problem is there's limited sources of stats in the game. You normally get those from your companion bonuses, consumables, and weapon armor bonuses, right? Like the chest piece that gives 7.5% crit and 7.5% crit sev, or whatever. Most of you know what I'm talking about. So we have limited sources of all those stats. Uh, the biggest source, the biggest single source from one source that we can get is from the tame velociraptor. And the tame velociraptor, you know, most people think it's common and everybody uses it. That was not the case. The majority of the community did not want to use it when it first came out because they were saying my power's already capped. I don't need that 20%. We're like, well, uncap it and get those and put on a raptor. And some people didn't even need the raptor; they're just wearing it so they can get into groups. Because how it started is, you know, 10-man groups, 5 people would have raptors and 5 people wouldn't. Because it's very expensive to change your build around. It's stupidly expensive. But as time went on and more people want to start getting into content, the other people get completed and wanted to get invites, they had to conform. Because if you wanted to make the most efficient build possible, you basically had to be using a tame velociraptor. I would argue in the current state of the game, with the number of extra ratings we have, that may not be the case anymore. And I'm going to show you why. And I know people are going to disagree with me a lot. And I get it 100%. I am not suggesting anybody does this. I'm just bringing this up so if anybody's wondering how to make their build better, here's a possible avenue for them to take. So, what I did is I put as much points as I could into Forte. So I'm currently at 64% Forte. So what 64% Forte is giving me is 32% power. And since my power is capped in the rating, I'm getting 50% from that. I am now getting 32% power added to my rating. So I'm now at 82% power. And I'm also getting, you know, from these useless campaign boons, everybody says is useless, right? I'm getting, if you put 5 points into this boon, this boon, this boon, this boon, you're going to get 4% more power. So now I went from 82% to 86% power. And I'm a metallic dragonborn, so I get 3% power. So I'm at 89% power. I know it says 88.9. Uh, I changed this build around just for the sake of doing this because normally I would not be at this much ratings because we'd have a runic aura and a mystic aura in the group. So what I did is I took some I put on these two garnets just to help visualize it for anybody watching this. But this is sitting at 89%. When I fine tune this, I have to re-roll and put 2 points from dexterity into charisma. I'll be at 89.4% power. And I'm totally fine being 0.6% under. Because everybody thinks green is good. Green is not good. Green means you have wasted stats. You can be 90% and it not change colors. It is extremely, extremely difficult to do. If you're at 90%, you might be at 95%. The game doesn't tell you. It just says you're 90 and it's green, which means you went over. Green is bad. Yellow is worse. Red is even worse than yellow or than orange. Green is not good. Green means you have wasted stats. I'd rather be at 89.4 than be at 90.2 because that's 0.2% stats I can put into another category. Because we were at a time where people were saying which stats they had to prioritize. Now, though, we're in a current position are what we're wearing to have all 5 stats capped and 3 damage companions, right? I'm arguing with Forte we could do even more than that. We can be on our three um, our our 3 damage companions, Bateri, Minsk, Neverwinter Night, and capping all 5 stats, which this build does, and still have room left over for damage equipment, like this damage ring. Every time I dodge, I get 6% damage for 15 seconds, right? Look at this chest piece. The Exalted Maiden's Assault Hide. This is very underrated. And a lot of people aren't using it. Because I'd rather use the chest piece that gives 15% more stats. But what if you don't need those 15% stats? What's the next best thing you can use? Well, this is 12% damage when you're behind an enemy in Underdark. Well, shit. What is all the relevant content in the game right now? Master Demon Web Pits, Master Temple of the Spider, Master Demogorgons, Master Zemned's Reliquary. The four most prominent content in the game, this chess piece is disgustingly awesome. The problem is it's not a priority because if you can have 15% stats, most people would rather use the 15% stats, and I don't blame them. But what if you don't need those 15% stats? Then what are you going to do? Well, you got to look, you need more outgoing damage because you don't want to waste 15% stats, right? I could put on this chess piece. I could put on this Dragon Hunt that's giving me 7.5% accuracy, 7.5% combat advantage. But guess what? I'm wasting, they're all wasted because I don't need a single one of those. So I'm going to stick with the 12%. So there's something else about Forte. Remember, I'm at 64% Forte, so this is giving me 32% power. It's also giving me 16% accuracy. Yeah, I'm Captain Accuracy, right? Well, it doesn't look like it because once I use the Wildstorm gift elixir, right? I'm Captain Accuracy. I'm actually over capped. I probably have to take off a armor reinforcement kit because you don't want to be at 75.7. You want to be at 75% because I'm going to get 7.5% from this bad boy, right? From the lightning enchant, and I'm also going to get 7.5% from this new MC set that gives 7.5% accuracy. So I'm at 90%. I'm actually at 90.7% accuracy. So I'm going to take off an armor reinforcement kit and put it somewhere else. Yeah, this Forte gives us 48% ratings when it's at 64%. 48% ratings, think about that. Most offensive slots in your companions give you 7.5%. This Forte at 64% is equivalent to almost 7 more companion bonuses. 7 more companion bonuses. That is insane. Because if you take that 7.5 and multiply it by 7, it's like 51 or 52. But it's almost, that's why I said it's more worth more than 6 companion bonuses. Not quite worth 7. Look at this. Every single DPS is pigeonholed. They got the Neverwinter Knight, the Minsk, the Bateri, and in this slot, everybody's running, and I don't blame them because it's that good. Everybody's running, where is it? The Tame Velociraptor. I don't want to fight. This is the Tame Velociraptor. So all we have left is the Wolf Instincts. The Wolf is or what most people are probably using is Alchemist Experimenter or the Golden Cat. Those are the most common ones you see the people use in utility. So all we have when we're making builds to play around with, because these four are already taken, right? These four, this fourth one is the Tame Velociraptor. All we have to make our build our own is this last spot. Now, when you run Forte, you now have 2 more spots you can play around with. You don't even have to put a stat here. You can put a damage companion, Nether East Anarchist, Stalwart Gorn Lion, the Blasphemous Assassin, if they ever fix it, or whatever else suits your needs. You can put a defensive stat if you need the defense stats, whatever. But having Forte opens up this spot, and when you free up these stats, it frees up stats on your front page so you can put more damage gear on. Because people don't know, but outgoing damage is amazing. Outgoing damage does not have a cap like all your other stats. You can have as much outgoing damage as you want, and you're going to keep doing more damage. Granted, it does have diminishing returns, just like every single other offensive stat. Well, except for accuracy. This Forte is amazing. I'm trying to make it sound like amazing, but there's a lot of downside to making a Forte build. It's going to be exactly like when we were all running, when we started running Tame Velociraptors. If you're the only person in the group running a Forte build and they all have a Raptor build, guess what you're doing? You're hurting them. You're hurting the DPS because they're going to be doing less damage. You're hurting the tank because the tank's going to be hitting less hard, so they're getting less threat. And if they're getting less threat, there's a chance you can pull threat from them that's increased, and that means you'll die. And guess what? That healer, you need the healer. When you're running the game and running random queues and all that scaled content, you don't really need a healer because you can avoid almost every single hit you're going to take in the game. Well, as a DPS. But once you start getting unscaled master content, the game's designed for you to get hit. It is completely unavoidable not to get hit. You are going to take damage. The game is designed for you to need a healer. And you need that healer to keep you alive when you take unavoidable damage. That's why MTOS is such a shocker to a lot of players as their first unscaled dungeon. It's like, what the heck? They're not used to dodging. They're not used to having to take heals because you get hit and you cannot avoid it in that dungeon, and it hurts. And as a DPS, you can only take one or two hits and you're dead, dead. Well, not dead, dead. You get a revive, but you die extremely fast, and you're like, thank God for the healer, right? And if you are not running a raptor and that healer is, you're hurting that healer's heals, which means that's going to hurt you. There is a fix to this though. Let me travel to Protector's Enclave. So the first downside of this is you're going to hurt the group if they're all running raptors, which is basically every team is running raptors, right? You will do more damage with a Forte build than a similarly skilled and similarly geared um, tamed Velociraptor build. In my opinion, I know people are going to say the Raptor build is the best build. I would argue send me your Raptor build. I'll make it better with the Forte build. But it's not that much better, right? It's not horribly better. It's not something that's going to break the game. But if you're not running a Raptor and everybody else is, we have the appointment events coming up, and we got one coming up real soon, Hell Pit. And I got 4 tokens of achievement. So day one when it comes out, I'm gonna use all the Zen we get on PS4 because we'd have a short backlog, unlike PC RIP. Well, actually we have a huge backlog compared to Xbox. Theirs is a negative backlog. I'm gonna get this Portobello Da Vinci, and when I run with this guy, everybody in the group's gonna get 3.5% power. So that will make up for me not having a Raptor. So everybody on the team is all good and kosher because I'm not running a Raptor. But what happens if you have two of you not running your Raptors and 3 people are? Now we're running into an issue. So first, it's not feasible in the current state of the game because you have to find 4 other people who are not running Raptors. The second downside is it is stupidly, stupidly expensive. Because if you are running a Raptor, guess what you're not running in your mount insignias? Uh, you are not running. You are not running dominance. You are not running tranquility. You are not running brutalities because those all give you forte and power. I put tranquility because it's the only crescent source I know of that gives forte, and I need 2 crescents for this build. So I could either run a crescent that doesn't give me forte or one that does. So I made 2 tranquilities or I bought one and made one. I forget. But all of it's all dominance and tranquility, and the only ones I couldn't do that in the enlightened positions. I don't believe there is a forte granting insignia for the enlightened, or else I would. But the problem is I'm not gonna not use enlightened because I need the Mender's Covenant, the Executioner's Covenant, and the Assassin's Covenant for those 14,500 free ratings. It is so expensive to change all your insignias around for this not minuscule gain, but significant gain, but it's not too significant to warrant paying for all this. The third reason is there's no reason to do this. All the content in the game right now is currently completable with a Raptor build. Just fine. There's no reason to change this. It's stupidly expensive. And the fourth reason is even if you play with all maxed out players, there's a lot of players who are just hitting end game. And they're not completely capped on everything. And they need those 20% ratings or 18.75% offensive stats from the tame Velociraptor. There's a lot of bad things about this build. A lot of bad things. But if you're a super sweaty DPS trying to make the best build you possibly can, I don't think we can do that with the tame Velociraptor anymore. Yeah, it's 18.75% offensive stats, but Forte more than makes up for it. Because we have all these extra ratings. If I don't put them into Forte, they're all wasted. I don't have any work. Everything, if I didn't put these into Forte, I would be overcapped by like 5,000, 4,000 in every single one of these categories because we have so many ratings. So if you take all those over ratings you have and put into Forte, now you're going to be in a not stupid, you're going to be in a huge state of excess. You're going to have way too much power. And you want to run around with a tame Velociraptor wasting like 10% rating or stats? Or do you just want to make a Forte build? I mean, right now not everybody's sitting on a mountain of AD to just make a build like this, right? Uh, I just remember when we were making Raptor builds, skill and aggression were like the least used, and I was getting them for dirt cheap. And as time went on, they started becoming really, really expensive, and all the dominance and brutals started getting really, really cheap because everybody that had a non-Raptor build was selling, their power insignias so they can buy the more expensive aggression insignias. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I don't know if anybody will ever make a Forte build. Who knows? They can introduce a gear next mod that can completely changes everything, or a combat rework that changes everything. We don't know what's going to happen. But right now, in the current state of the game, not knowing the future, I don't think you can make a better build than a Forte build as a DPS. Again, the downsides are you're hurting everybody on the team if they don't have a Forte build. It's stupidly expensive, and there's no reason to. Unless you're a stupid, really, really, really sweaty player who needs a really good build to do average damage. Kind of like me. So please comment below. I know there will be a lot of opinions on this topic. A lot. Probably mostly for the worse, and I expect that. There you go. Stay class, Neverwinter. See you soon.